Hello, and welcome to What If I'm Wrong, the podcast where we don't always give you answers, but we do ask some really good questions. I'm Heather Thompson Day, and I'll be your guide through topics, conversations, and questions. For the month of March, we are going to be focusing on the theme What If I'm Wrong? Relationship Edition. We will explore submission stories centering around friendship, romantic relationships, and family. This week, we are going to explore the question, what if we've been doing relationships wrong all along? Today, we are going to look at how maybe our traditional ideas of relationships need updating. Is it reasonable for a married couple to live separately? Are long distance relationships always bad? What do relationships look like that don't have stereotypical gender norms? All that kind of stuff. We want to go through submissions and we'll see how many we can get to in this episode. But I am so excited to explore this topic with you for the entire month of March. Today, we are going to explore whether society's rules around love and connection need an overhaul. But remember, we aren't trying to give you any answers. We are just trying to explore some really good questions. On the show, I am going to do something I didn't do on Viral Jesus, which was my last podcast. And if you are migrating with me from that show, this one is actually going to be totally different. It is nothing like that show, but I'm so excited because Viral Jesus walked. So what if I'm wrong can run? That's what's happening right now. Haley, my little ministry co-pilot, she's going to help me land this plane. Haley, how do you feel about joining me on the podcast?
Oh my gosh, I am honored to be here. I'm so excited. This is such a big shift from Viral Jesus.
Right. Right.
But I'm so excited. I love that we're making space for real and raw conversations, and I think it's going to be great.
I'm going to miss Viral Jesus.
I am. We spent a lot of time working on that
Yeah.
show, and it was so great. And I am going to miss it, but honestly, I'm just so excited for this show.
I am too. And just so you guys know, Haley, actually, you should know that if you've ever emailed me before, Haley always is the one that's responding to emails and all that stuff. So she has been working with me, I don't know, for like 4 years now. Haley was my former student
Yeah.
at Colorado Christian University. And I met her then, and she's been with me like 4 years. And when I was thinking about who could be a little co-pilot for me, I thought, how comfortable are you with a camera and a microphone, Haley?
And I said, let's do it.
She was texting me last night like, oh my goodness, should we change this? What about this? I was like, are you nervous? Are you nervous, Haley?
You know, I'm a little nervous, but but I'm excited.
Yeah, right. Hey, anything you do that feels comfortable is not worth doing.
This is true. I like that. This is true.
We're gonna go outside of our comfort zone. So let's get to it. Our topic the month of March is What If I'm Wrong? Relationship Edition. And today I specifically wanted to ask the question, what if we've been doing relationships wrong all along? But before we get to that, I want to do a segment now and then on the show called Define the Term. Because many of you know, so I was a communication professor for almost 15 years. And I truly believe that when we understand the words that we are using, it brings our relationship with that word into focus. Okay, let me explain to you what I mean. Haley, I am going to tell you a word. Okay. I'm going to give you a term. And then I'm going to give the actual definition. We're going to define the term. And I want you to ask yourself how knowing the actual definition may change how you see your relationship with that word.
Okay.
Today's term is love.
Ooh,
You like that?
I like it.
I thought it would go good for the relationship edition to kick us off. So
Yeah.
I love the work of Plutchik. And Plutchik talks about how there are primary emotions and there are blended emotions. And what that means is that we can't experience an emotion like love without blending together two other emotions at the exact same time. So the only way to create the emotion that we call love is to feel simultaneously at the same time two other emotions. Guess what they are?
No clue. Tell me.
Okay. I'm gonna give it to you, and this is gonna change how you see love. This is gonna
Okay.
change how you see love. the two emotions that you have to feel at the same time in order to give birth to the emotion that we call love is trust and joy.
Okay.
Trust and joy. So whenever I've always found this to be really fascinating because I'll sit with students and they're like, "You don't understand, Dr. Day. I know that he's cheating on me, but I love
Mm,
him." And I always say to them, really, you love them because love is a blended emotion. The only
mm,
way to experience it is to blend together trust and joy. There's no way you trust somebody who is hurting you in that
mm,
way. So I invite them to say it again, bring the relationship with the word into focus. Say, I have so much joy with him. He's just cheating on me.
mm,
I have so much joy with her. She just doesn't respect me, right? The only way to experience the emotion that we call love is to simultaneously experience trust and joy. And I really truly believe if we use language appropriately, when we stop using love as a smokescreen for whatever it is we actually are in with somebody, I just think it frees us to see things for what it really to see things for what it really is. Always define the term. Haley, how does that change? Does it change how you see love at all or how you would use that word?
Yeah, I think that this is like a more structured way of thinking about the term
Mm,
love that I haven't thought about before, but it makes a lot of sense when you put it that way. But I do think that we very easily and casually throw out the term love so
yeah,
often. And I think this really at least challenges me to think, like, what do I mean when I say the word love? Or it challenges me to think deeper about, like, who do I love when I say this
yeah,
term, and really thinking about trust and joy. Like, do I trust this person? Do I have joy with
yeah.
this person? I think it just challenges me to think deeper.
Okay, I got to tell you, I remember, I think I first read this at like 25 years old. And I remember being like, huh, do I love God?
Hmm.
Do I yes, I have joy with the Lord, but do I trust am I living a life as if I trust him? Can I
Yeah.
really say I love God? And that has just always been, like the homing beacon that recenters me to remind myself, if I am going to tell people publicly I love you, I need to privately trust you. Even when I don't understand what's happening, even when I can't see what's next, even when I don't understand these circumstances, to love God is to trust God.
Hmm. That's good.
And oh wait, let me land this plane.
Yeah.
And y'all, God is love.
Hmm.
And
Amen.
God is somebody you can fully trust and fully find joy in.
Hmm.
I love that. Let's get to submission stories. If you want to send us a submission story to discuss on the show, send an email to what if I'm wrong pod, P-O-D, what if I'm wrong pod at gmail.com. And you can just like beg Haley. You can bribe her, do whatever you want to do to pick your submission. Haley, what do you have for us today?
Okay, so we have some submission stories that are wild, and I think that you
Okay.
guys are gonna die. But before we get to those, I saw this reel on Instagram, and it's with Cheryl Lee Ralph. She's one of those characters on the show Abbott Elementary.
Yeah.
And well, just listen to this yourself, and then you can give me your reaction.
We also live in separate places. When I go to see him, love to see him. When it's time to leave, bye-bye, see you soon.
Oh. Here's what I'm going to say. You know what I mean? Like, hey, good for you, sis.
Yeah.
Good for you. And if you're happy, I really am somebody that believes like somebody else's relationship that looks wild to
Hmm.
me, but if it works for them, I feel like, okay, it works for them. I will say that would not work for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to I want to cuddle up to my husband every single night, and I want to wake up and go on a run with him in the morning, and I want to eat nachos. Like I want to be in proximity.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm needy.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely non-traditional.
Yes.
Yeah, it's different, but I agree with you. I think, yeah, to me, I mean, I'm not married, but in
Right.
my vision, I
In
think
your
in
vision
my
of marriage, it is not
vision,
two separate houses.
yes, exactly. Yes.
But some people, and I do think about this a lot because, we're gonna have Scarlett on the show
Yeah.
at some point. But so she's in a long distance relationship. She's in Detroit and her boyfriend Brian is in North Carolina. And she gets really sad about that. And
Yeah.
because she's divorced, like she can't leave her kids. He's divorced.
Mm.
He can't leave his kids. So there's not a lot of hope for their future of living in the same home, which is horrible.
Yeah.
And she sometimes will call me crying and like, I don't know how to do this. But then I
Yeah.
think, hey, there are people like if your husband's a pilot or in the military, like some people's or a trucker,
Yeah.
some people's jobs take them on the road 5 days at a time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And nobody's like, oh, you're doing marriage wrong when it's for their job.
Right. That's so true. Yeah.
But then if like people just choose it for whatever reason, we get judgmental about it. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Cheryl Lee Ralph, I love you. I love Abbott Elementary. So because it's you also, I'm just going to say like, whatever. Good for you, girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good for you.
Go off, queen.
Yeah. Go off, queen.
Well, this actually segues into one of the submissions that I found on Reddit.
Okay.
I did shorten it down a bit, but you will get the gist. So let me read it to you. I, 21 female, attend college about 6 hours away from my hometown. Unfortunately, my mom passed away at a young age, and my dad, 48, has been a single father to me. My dad hasn't dated anyone seriously throughout the years, as he seemed to constantly indicate he wanted to focus on me. I've always encouraged him to put himself back out there, and when I left for school, I encouraged him even more as he would be an empty nester. Since my freshman year of high school, I've had a really close friend, 21 female, that has always been there for me, and I've spent a lot of time with. She attends a more local college about only 20 minutes away. This past March, when I went home, I noticed my dad was texting someone fairly regularly. This isn't common for him, so I figured he may finally be sparking up his love life after all these years. I didn't say anything about it because I didn't want to make him feel weird or uncomfortable about getting back out there. I said my goodbyes and went back to school, and a few weeks later, I was looking at Find My Friends when I noticed that my friend was at my house.
My heart is beating.
I know.
My heart is beating.
Mine is too. I thought this was strange since she doesn't necessarily live close by. A week went by and I decided to go home early for Easter because I had a feeling something was strange. Everything was normal and my dad was happy to see me. We spent the day together and then started watching a movie. Then it happened. I saw an incoming text on my dad's phone and it was from my friend.
Oh.
This was all I needed to place the last piece of the puzzle together. My dad was going out with my friend. I was feeling...
What was the ages? Wait. What was the ages? 58 and
48 and 21.
48
and 21. So she says, I was feeling pretty sick the next day. It felt like a layer of trust was broken. And the other external details, such as the age gap and already existing dynamic, made me cringe up a bit as well. She says, after 2 days, I went home and I went back to school to leave the situation and think. I came to the conclusion that I'm not okay with this relationship. I didn't want my individual relationships that I had with each blended into one. I thought it was gross, and above all, the fact that they had to be sneaky validates my feelings that they should know better.
Wow.
Yeah. She says, I finally called my dad and told him that I knew. He sounded upset on the phone, sad, not angry at all, and told me he understood and wanted to talk about it the next day so he could think. The next day, my dad and I talked. He was very apologetic and understanding of why I was upset, but eventually said he would not stop seeing my friend.
Oh.
Yeah. He said they have been seeing each other since the end of last summer and have become attached to one another, and he was not ready to forfeit his first real connection that he has felt in so many years. So, am I in the wrong for not supporting or even tolerating this relationship?
Wow. Can you imagine?
I can't.
Your dad's going to listen to this and be like, of course she can't imagine. Yeah. Oh, this. And here's what, like obviously as you started and we're reading about her dad being a widower, which obviously everybody's heart is like, okay, that's obviously that's horrible.
Yeah.
That's so sad. Single dad raising his daughter. She said, focus. I mean, obviously a very good dad.
Yeah.
What do you think? For me, and this is, I mean, call me traditional, call me conservative, whatever. An age gap for me, and this is because I was a professor for most of my adult life. I
Mm.
worked with 21-year-old kids.
Yeah.
That's young.
Yeah.
There is a massive life experiential difference between 21 and 48.
Yeah.
25, I feel like maybe she should let it go. You know what I mean? Like 25 is more
Yeah.
of an adult, I think.
Yeah.
21?
And to be the same age as her, you know?
Actually, yeah, that adds another
Yeah.
layer of weird.
Right.
Although I'm sure that I guarantee you people are listening right now who their parents have or are in a relationship with somebody who's the same age as them.
Mm.
And I've talked to women that like have that story and tell me how uncomfortable that makes them.
Yeah.
What do you think age is just a number? What do you think age gaps?
I don't know. I think it hits a certain point, you know? I think I think there's a point.
There are limits. There are limits to this.
Yeah. I don't know. I do think that there's, you know, for girls, they mature a little bit
Yes.
earlier. So I
That's
do
true.
understand why some girls will date older.
Yes.
I do understand that. For me personally, I'm 24. I don't think I would go above 30.
Yeah.
I think that would be the limit. I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like I would say 5 years, but then that's like 29, you know, maybe give it 30. But like, I don't know. Maybe that's just me,
Right.
but it
I
just
don't know.
feels, yeah.
I think the human brain isn't, I mean, and maybe I'm just too analytical for things, but like the human brain, I'm pretty sure isn't even fully developed until 25.
Yeah.
So I just feel like 21 is super young.
Yeah.
And then I think the other thing that's kind of weird is they've been best friends for a long time. So like, right?
Yeah.
There's questions. Like the second you're gone, now all of a sudden this is happening,
Right.
or was this always happening?
Right. But the other thing is they met their freshman year of high school. That's a long
Right.
time.
That's a
That's
long
like what,
time.
14 years old?
Right.
Like he's known her since she was young.
a child,
Yeah.
a baby.
Yeah.
You know what? So we are. This is a judgment-free zone, and we are not trying to give any answers. We're just gonna rustle through the questions, and all I am saying is, sis, I too would feel very uncomfortable about this, and I mean, I guess I am going to be a little judgy. I actually think it's wrong.
Yeah.
I will try not to say these. I will try not to give such a direct part of my opinion in the future, but I actually think it's kind of wrong. And I feel like, especially when she tells them both, hey, I'm uncomfortable with this, I just think that should be received because of the age gap.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, and last time I'm going to say it, I won't keep repeating it. I just think 21, there's just so much developmentally still happening for her that the dad is not experiencing. So yeah. I feel weird about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you.
All right. I don't know if I can handle another one, but here we go.
Last night, I, 20 male, ended an almost 2-year relationship with my girlfriend, 19, let's say Kelsey, after she gave me an ultimatum that I need to attend church every Sunday or she would break up with me. Background: Kelsey knows my history with being forced to go to a Southern Baptist church my whole childhood. Being forced to go to church services with messages I did not agree with pushed me away from religion instead of helping me develop a healthy relationship with God. Last year, during my first year of college, I only went to church a couple times throughout the year, mostly when Kelsey asked me to. Going to a Methodist church and hearing a different message of the gospel being preached was refreshing, and I didn't mind going whenever she asked. I'd begun to grow a healthy relationship with the church and with God again.
Okay.
Yeah. During the first semester of this school year, we went to church a few times again, but nothing too serious. After winter break, she decided she wanted to go to church more often, and I support her 100% as I believe in helping her grow as she needs to. The problem happened 2 weeks ago when Kelsey hit me with this ultimatum. Either I start attending church every Sunday or we break up. I took some time to think about it and realized that's not where I'm at in my faith. If I start feeling forced to go to church again, it will ruin the relationship I have built back up. I tried to explain this and she countered that I just don't want to grow and that I need to force myself to do it. I told her I could build up to going every Sunday, but I can't just flip a switch right now. I asked Kelsey to please stay with me and continue to support me by helping build my faith because I love her and she truly makes me happy. She said she can't do that, and I have to fully commit myself to going to church every Sunday because that's what she needs in a boyfriend. So eventually, I realized I was just beating a dead horse and said that if there's nothing we can agree on other than her way, I can't do that right now.
Mm.
I feel that faith is a very personal journey, and at 20 years old, that journey needs to be decided by me right now.
So, first initial reactions are that this sounds like a very mature 20-year-old,
Yeah.
right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not I don't even like I used to work at Christian universities. I don't even like mandated chapel. Like
Mm,
I don't think religion should ever be forced. I
yeah.
think it's always an invitation. I think God is far more patient with us than we are with each other in each other's spiritual journeys. And I don't think like I don't think God should be a like carrot that's waved in order to stay in a relationship. I is it possible that both of them are right? Like if she is thinking, "Hey, for me and where I'm at and what I'm experiencing, I want somebody with me every single week at church." sh- Yeah,
Totally.
she can do that. Like
Yeah.
I think that that's fair. I think the ultimatum is what's not fair. Like if you just want to break up,
Yes.
break up.
Right. Right. Yes. I think
And
it's like very wise to want to be with someone who's equally yoked. That is
yes.
biblical. That is good.
Uh-huh.
But the ultimatum is where it gets a little tricky. And I agree with you. I think being forced is like, can you really have a true relationship with God if it's all forced? Like,
I
you
don't
need to
think
be
so.
choosing it for yourself.
Right. I always say to like students if
Yeah.
they bring up stuff with their boyfriends, I've always said, what is their character?
Mm.
Is this person's character? And I'm talking about how they treat you, speak to you, value you. Is it do they have the character of somebody that you think God would say, I trust him to be with you?
Hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's what I've always said to students, like that's what should guide whether or not you're in a relationship with somebody. And then other things I think become preferences,
Yeah.
you know?
Totally.
I don't I guess I'm gonna not get myself in trouble by not saying too much on that one. I don't want to offend anybody, but I do. I just, I'll let me end that one by saying this: God is far more graceful to you than you probably are to yourself or to others,
Yeah.
and that's what I'll say.
I love it. We'll leave it at that.
We're gonna leave it at that. I want to close every episode with a segment I call Day in the Bible. This is where I share something I have learned in my personal Bible study with you that will beg the question, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong about how I've been reading or thinking or understanding this Bible passage or this thought? Today, we are going to look at how Jesus built relationship. As a former communication professor, I'm fascinated and I always pay attention to any type of like communication patterns that we see in scripture. Did you know, Haley, that asking questions is one way we can model the communication style of Jesus? Did
Hmm.
you know that?
Interesting. I have.
Isn't it?
It's very interesting. I've heard of this before, but I'm excited to hear how you frame it.
Okay. According to the work of Martin B. Copenhaver, the former president of Andover Newton Theological School, in the Bible, Jesus asks 307
Hmm.
questions. And of the 183 questions he was asked directly, he only answers 3 of them.
Wow.
And to me, I mean, there's so much I could say here. But to me, there's a massive communication opportunity available to all of us when we hear that, right? Because
Yeah.
Jesus, who had all the answers, Jesus, who literally is God among men, Jesus has all the answers and he doesn't feel the need to give them.
Hmm.
And I think it's fascinating as a communication choice because I know when I have answers, oh man, I can't wait to give them. I love to give an answer, right? And
Yeah.
yet Jesus thought questions were more compatible for building relationship than answers. And Jesus, I'll also say this, like, Jesus is willing to allow us to get him wrong.
Mm.
He has to be willing to allow us to get him wrong because he didn't give us all the answers. I've thought about this a lot. I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but Jesus very easily could have written his own gospel. Jesus very easily could have sat down and written us a letter.
Yeah.
And he doesn't. And I think that there's a powerful message being communicated in a God who allows other people to tell his story.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot that if we sit in that, we could learn. I'm just going to say this. One of the godliest things we can do as Christian communicators is pause on giving all of our answers and be willing to sit with people in their questions. And I do a challenge question in my newsletter. You can subscribe at heatherthompsonday.com, but every week I give a challenge question for you to integrate into your week. A question you can ask like your coworker or neighbor or a stranger or a friend. And actually we have a goal. You know this, Haley. We have a goal for 2025 with cross communication. That's the ministry initiative that we're doing, cross communication. We want to reach 10,000 Christians in 2025 with the power of a single question. Because I want us as Christians to get used to showing people we are interested in them. Ask people questions. Jesus did it. Who had all the answers? He still thought it was important to ask people questions because questions invite relationship. You can help us reach our goal by going to heatherthompsonday.com and subscribing to my newsletter, Friday Night Light, and start doing the challenge question with us every single week. And you can always email Haley back and say like, hey, this is what happened when I did the challenge question this week. We love that kind of feedback. Haley, did that surprise you when we first talked about that, about Jesus's communication style?
So I have heard of this before.
Okay.
And it's funny that we're talking about it now because it actually has been something that I've been like trying to implement into my own life. Is like asking questions because like you said, it is so much easier. Maybe it's like our fleshly desire to just give the answer.
Right.
But what I've noticed when I ask questions is it really makes people wrestle and think inwardly. And it just kind of sticks with people longer. I think when you ask a question, for example, I like instead of giving an answer to a friend, I asked a question instead. And she came back later, like a week later, and was like, "Hey, about that thing we were talking about." And it just made me so happy because I was like, "Oh my gosh, had I just like rattled off an answer that maybe I didn't even know the answer to, you know?"
Right.
There would have been no like deep reflection on it. And I think that sometimes we want to give an answer when I think it's way better to just say, I don't know, if we don't know the answer, or like ask another question and think and ponder on it.
I'll say that is one of the things that has often driven me crazy about my mentor is he has very rarely given me any answers, but he does ask me some really good questions. That's it for our first episode of What If I'm Wrong. Join us next week as we stay in our theme of What If I'm Wrong, Relationships Edition. Haley, what is our question for next week and where can they send submissions?
Okay, so next week we're going to be talking about what if compromise isn't always the answer.
Ooh.
You can send me your submissions if you want us to discuss whatever experience you are questioning on the podcast. You can email me at whatifimwrongpod@gmail.com.
Because there are some things that maybe you should not be compromising.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. And we are going to be joined next week too by my best friend, Scarlett Longstreet. I cannot wait to hear actually what she has to say about compromise. I'm Heather Thompson Day, and I'll see you next week on What If I'm Wrong.